Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to Curious Kingdom. Today we are recapping horror movie The Pope's Exorcist. In the town of Tropea, Italy, in 1987, Father Gabriele Amorth, the chief exorcist of the Vatican, is called to a village where a man is believed to be possessed by a devil. The local priest reports that the man is displaying classic signs of possession, like suddenly speaking English even though he had never spoken the language before. The man even claims to be Satan when he sees Father Amorth. This makes Father Amorth skeptical about the possession claim. Instead of jumping to conclusions, he sits down and begins talking to the man. He tries to ask the supposed Satan his name and to describe hell, but the man avoids the questions by threatening Father Amorth's life. In response, Father Amorth shows the man a Saint Benedict medal but sees no reaction in the man's eyes. To test the man's capabilities, Father Amorth tricks him into possessing a pig, but a villager shoots the pig, ending the possession attempt. After calming the man down, Father Amorth declares that the devil is gone. A few weeks later, in Castile, Spain, a woman named Julia arrives at the San Sebastian Abbey with her two children, Amy and Henry. The abbey is the inheritance left by Julia's late husband after his sudden death a year ago. Amy is unhappy about moving to Spain, while Henry, who hasn't spoken since his father's death, has no say in the matter. As they enter the abbey, Julia comments that it's not too bad, but Amy sarcastically disagrees. The children search for their rooms, and Julia is introduced to Father Escobar by the foreman. Father Escobar welcomes them on behalf of the diocese. Julia assures him that they are being careful in preserving the abbey's structure in respect to her husband's family name and the church. Amy hears knocking while brushing her teeth and eventually knocks back after it continues. Strangely, Henry is walking around the house when the knocking happens, ruling him out as the source of the sound. Henry ventures into the basement and hears eerie noises. He notices a crack forming around what appears to be a seal in the wall. Upstairs, Julia looks for Henry and explains to Amy that they're financially strained, and the abbey is their only asset. She promises that once the reconstruction is complete, they will sell the abbey and return to America. She asks for Amy's help in getting Henry to talk. Meanwhile, in Rome, Italy, Amorth faces trouble for his actions in Tropea a month earlier. He appears before the church tribunal, where Cardinal Sullivan expresses dissatisfaction with Amorth's actions, which were carried out without permission from his superior. Amorth clarifies that what he did in Tropea wasn't an exorcism, as the man was not possessed but rather mentally ill. According to him, many of the people seeking his assistance and claiming to be possessed are actually dealing with mental disturbances. So, instead of acting solely as an exorcist, he takes on the role of a priest, engaging with these individuals until they are stable enough for him to recommend them to specialists. Bishop Lumumba supports Amorth's assertion, sharing that 98% of those he assisted were eventually referred to doctors and psychiatrists. Sullivan inquires about the remaining 2%, and Amorth reveals that these cases involve true evil that science cannot explain. Surprisingly, Sullivan reacts positively to this statement. Noticing Sullivan's reaction, Amorth urges the tribunal to get to the point, using his past experience of facing a firing squad as a reference. Sullivan discloses that the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith has suggested formally vacating the position of the chief exorcist. He explains that the church is under pressure to maintain its relevance and sees moving beyond outdated beliefs like possession and exorcism as a way to do so. In response, Amorth questions the church's role if they don't believe in the existence of evil. He humorously suggests that the congregation might want all of them out of their jobs. About to leave, Sullivan insists they continue the conversation. Sullivan brings up a woman named Rosaria Valendes, whom Amorth wrote about in a magazine, surprising the tribunal. Sullivan advises Amorth to show respect to his superior, but Amorth responds that if they have an issue, they should address it directly with his actual superior, the Pope. Amorth leaves the tribunal, frustrated by their questions and suggestions. The next day, back in Castile, two construction workers discuss the eerie atmosphere of the basement. They investigate a hole in the wall, leading to a dangerous fire that injures them. This incident prompts the foreman to halt the work due to safety concerns. Meanwhile, Henry begins convulsing, and his mother Julia calls out his name, causing him to stop and speak after a year of silence. He makes disturbing statements, leading to his hospitalization. Despite tests showing no issues, Julia is skeptical due to his behavior. The power in the abbey is suddenly cut, and Amy discovers someone has shut it down. Henry's behavior becomes more alarming as he demands breastfeeding and reveals cuts forming the word hate on his body. His voice changes as he orders them to bring him the priest. Julia contacts Escobar, but Henry reacts violently, claiming they've chosen the wrong priest. Amorth visits the Pope, who jokes about the Church's changing beliefs regarding evil. The Pope informs Amorth about a case in San Sebastian Abbey involving a boy named Henry who is said to be possessed. The Pope senses a great evil and assigns the case to Amorth, explaining the history of issues with the Abbey. Amorth reviews the files, finding the words "Our sins will seek us out" at the end. Father Amorth promptly travels to Spain to meet Henry and his family at the Abbey. As he arrives, he notices a well in the garden. Soon after, Escobar approaches him and expresses familiarity with Amorth's articles. Amorth playfully suggests Escobar read his books as well. After the introduction, Julia asks why the Church is involved and interested in her son's case. Amorth explains he's here to assess Henry's situation and offer suggestions. But the final decision lies with her. Amy supports the idea, and Julia informs Amorth about Henry's location. Seeing Henry asleep, Amorth begins to pray. Henry wakes up and dismisses prayers as futile in the Abbey. Amorth quietly shows the San Sebastian medal to Henry and observes the devil's eyes. He questions the devil's name and reason for possessing Henry. The devil identifies itself as Amorth's nightmare and admits to harming an innocent child's flesh. It claims to desire the challenge of possessing an exorcist's soul, specifically targeting Amorth. The devil speaks Amorth's name, referring to his nightmares and sins. In a flashback, Amorth recalls a wartime experience with a partisan group ambushed by Germans. Henry then expels a bird, which triggers a sense of recognition in Amorth. Amorth informs Escobar that they are dealing with a formidable devil, emphasizing its hierarchical significance based on its knowledge. Amorth explains to Julia that her son is under the influence of a powerful devil. Removing Henry from the Abbey could endanger his life. He inquires if Henry experienced trauma, as such experiences can make individuals vulnerable to demonic possession. Julia reveals that when her husband died in a car accident, Henry witnessed his father's impalement. Amorth urges Julia to maintain her faith, as a mother's love resembles God's love. Meanwhile, Amy hears knocking and checks on Henry, who unsettlingly claims to be in hell. Alarmed, she runs to her room. The phone rings, and she hears her deceased father's voice predicting their deaths. Amy informs her mother, prompting Amorth to suggest they rest while he and Escobar confront the devil. Amorth informs Escobar that Henry won't survive long with the devil inside him, emphasizing the need to discover its name for the exorcism. Before proceeding, Escobar confesses his sins to Amorth. They enter the room to make the devil reveal its name. The power suddenly goes out, and Amorth sees Rosaria, who warns that his sins will find him. Amorth asserts that the Lord has forgiven his sins, but Rosaria suggests he cannot forgive himself. The devil taunts Escobar about his affair with Adela. Escobar loses control and attacks Henry, prompting Amorth to intervene. Recognizing the devil's manipulation, outside, Escobar admits to Amorth about Adela, the love of his life. She wanted him to choose between her and priesthood, but he prioritized his commitment to God. Escobar asks for forgiveness, and Amorth reassures him that God will forgive. Escobar inquires about Rosaria, and Amorth regrets not aiding her when he should have. Amorth explains that the devil inside Henry is skilled at exploiting their guilt to distract them. He recalls the devil's words about taking the bait and realizes there's a larger scheme at play. He instructs Escobar to remain outside Henry's room while he investigates the garden well. To his astonishment, he finds the Vatican seal on the well's lid. Upon opening it, he discovers the well contains corpses and a gas deposit, with another seal at the bottom. Inside the Abbey, Escobar, Julia, and Amy are attacked by the devil. Amorth returns to find Escobar injured from Henry's bite. The women scream, prompting Amorth to aid Julia and Escobar to rescue Amy. They provide shelter in the chapel. Later, Amorth and Escobar return to the well, revealing the seal of the Spanish Inquisition, a dark period in church history. The well contains the remains of those who resisted conversion. It becomes clear that more lies below, leading them to a basement hole with another Vatican seal, the same one Henry had seen. They access a catacomb, finding the corpse of the last cardinal protector, caged for protection against the devil they were trying to exorcise. Amorth reveals the cage's purpose and searches the corpse for a key, opening a gate to what seems to be a throne room. Meanwhile, the Pope realizes the nature of the devil Amorth is confronting, experiencing physical distress and being hospitalized. Julia awakens to find Amy missing. She prepares for the worst, taking sedatives and discovering that the devil is controlling Amy. The priests find another corpse, recognizing Friar de Ojeda, a renowned exorcist, opening his journal with the Spanish Inquisition seal. They learn that a powerful devil in Segovia possessed him, committing heinous acts under the name of God during the Inquisition. The church concealed this truth, explaining why the devil mentioned the truth seeking them out. They find a world map with marked locations. Remembering Revelation, Amorth realizes San Sebastian Abbey is among the 200 places on earth where God is unwelcome. They ascertain the name of the devil possessing Henry, Asmodeus, the king of hell. Escobar recalls the devil sought a particular priest, turning out to be Amorth. They believe Asmodeus aims to repeat history by possessing another exorcist and destabilizing the Vatican and the world. Armed with the devil's name, they prepare to exorcise Asmodeus from Henry. Before that, Amorth feels compelled to confess his greatest regret. In 1942, his entire unit perished in an ambush except for him. He questioned why God spared him, realizing he was meant to serve God and people. However, he believes he failed when it mattered most. One day, Amorth received a call from Rosaria's family, who believed she was possessed. However, Amorth realized she was suffering from mental illness, not possession. Driven by pride and considering himself an exorcist rather than a psychologist, he didn't assist her, thinking it wasn't his role. Unfortunately, this decision had dire consequences when Rosaria tragically took her own life, blaming Amorth for not believing her claims. In this difficult moment, Escobar offered comfort and blessings, helping Amorth seek forgiveness from God for his action. With renewed strength, Amorth and Escobar faced the challenge of confronting Asmodeus. They sought support from Julia and Amy, urging them to continue praying for Henry's well-being. Asmodeus proved formidable, projecting images of Rosaria and Adela, two individuals they had previously failed to help. Despite this, the priests overcame their doubts and resumed their exorcism of the King of Hell. Suddenly, the devil ceased fighting, suggesting Henry's impending demise. Shockingly, Asmodeus fully possessed Amy, who then attacked Julia. Henry, under the devil's control, attacked Escobar, suspending him in the air. Recognizing the only way to save everyone, Amorth made a brave sacrifice, offering himself to Asmodeus in exchange for their safety. The King of Hell accepted this offer, releasing the children to possess Amorth. Meanwhile, the Pope sensed something amiss and woke up, sensing an event involving Amorth. Simultaneously, the devil made his presence felt to Sullivan, causing an image of Christ to bleed in the church. As the confrontation continued, the remnants of Amorth's will instructed Escobar to guide the family out of the abbey. Amorth attempted to free himself from Asmodeus's grip, but the devil resisted, taking him to a throne room. There, he witnessed a disturbing transformation of Holy Mother Mary into Rosaria. In a parallel effort, Escobar returned to save Amorth. Although Asmodeus taunted that Amorth was lost, Escobar's unwavering faith in God and his fellow priest empowered him to exorcise Asmodeus from Amorth's being. Gradually, Amorth's presence returns, and they join in prayer until Asmodeus is expelled from his body. However, the devil's presence continues through Rosaria and Adela, forcing the two priests to confront and pacify them. Ultimately, through their unshakable faith, Amorth and Escobar conquer Asmodeus. The following day, they visit the Vatican, where the Pope warmly welcomes and praises them for their successful efforts. The Pope then informs Amorth that the congregation desires a comprehensive report detailing the events in Spain. Amorth humorously speculates that Sullivan might dismiss his account as mere imagination. However, the Pope reveals that Sullivan is on sabbatical in Guam, eliminating that concern. Moreover, Bishop Lumumba has taken Sullivan's place, assuring Amorth of his support. The movie concludes with Lumumba leading them to special church archives, revealing that they've identified 199 other places where evil holds sway and God's presence is absent. Amorth and Escobar are assigned the task of exorcising these locations. The Pope's exorcist skillfully weaves classic exorcism themes and historical contexts, notably the Spanish Inquisition, into its storyline. This clever utilization of history sets the movie apart from typical exorcism films. In summary, The Pope's Exorcist is an engaging and enjoyable cinematic experience. That's all for today, folks. Like, share, and subscribe for more such content. Curious Knight signing off. Stay safe, stay curious.